Hey everybody, it is Romania Black, and we're on episode 5 of season 3 of Bungo Stray Dogs. Slap the Stick and Addict. Seems like a weird rhyme. I'm not sure what that's all about, but before we start this episode, I did want to go over Ace, who is our dearly departed Port Mafia executive, who bit the dust last episode because Fyodor is a badass, and so he had to show it off. But yeah, Ace was a very interesting character. He was like kind of that. I feel like sometimes the villains in this show get a little vaudeville-ish and have like the twirly mustaches, and I'm fine with it. It's kooky, it's very fun, and Ace was definitely a villain like that. So I was very curious about him going into this, but researching him, he's not actually an author. It's kind of weird. So his ability, the Madness of the Jewel King. Here's the thing about Ace. I looked him up, and Ace's name is written as A, and it's pronounced Asu. So it's referring to Ace, and there's like in parentheses the CE that would make Ace, which you could tie to the playing card, obviously, but because he was a gambler. But the actual person that they think that it's based off of is Alan Bennett, who's a playwright who wrote the play The Madness of George III, which is very interesting. And the funny thing is, we have all of these famous authors and characters that they're named off of, but they're very old authors or authors that are outside the realm of copyright. So, like Edgar Allan Poe or like Fitzgerald and authors like that, their names and likenesses aren't copyright. But it's funny because Ace's character, Alan Bennett, that he's based off of, is likely a copyrighted entity, and so the show couldn't just come out and call him Alan Bennett. So instead they chose just the letter A and did that. But his ability, the Madness of the Jewel King, is thought to be derived from the play The Madness of George III, which was a play that was published in 1991. So extremely recent, not early 1900s, late 1900s. And it depicts the life of King George III and his battle with his mental illness, which is pretty fitting because by the end of it, Ace kind of goes insane due to Fyodor tricking him and kills himself. So I thought that was so fascinating that we finally had a modern day author, or a modern day playwright in this case, that had a character based off of them, but because of copyright, they had to change the letter. So it's kind of funny, I think if I were an author, it's funny, if I were an author that was published and had the success of Alan Bennett, a part of me would be totally okay with someone basing a character off of me, but then the other part of me is like, Ace's character was kind of arrogant and stupid and ended up dying a horrible death, so I don't know if I'd want a character like that based off of me. I guess I'd have to get down to it. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting that his likeness and ability were all kind of copyrights. They were just changed, but it's one of those changes that's it's really obvious that it's the change. So very interesting. One of those disclaimers that says all the names are fictional and not based on real people, but you know that they are. One of those things. So that's fun. But yeah, so that was that character. I'm really excited to see, now that we have Fyodor introduced, to see what all he's up to. We've established last episode that he's a pretty formidable villain. He's very tricky, very conniving, very manipulative, very smart, and now has a book with all the abilities in it of everybody, including Mori. So the only thing I can think of is if in that book there are pieces of information left out. If something was left out of the book that would be important. So if something with Mori's ability was not said or hasn't been discussed, then that could be something used later on. Because a part of me is thinking, Mori is so smart, I don't think he would allow someone to compile a notebook of his ability. There's something he's not telling them. Whoever he gave that information to, there's something left unsaid. So I'm curious to know if that's going to all come back and pay off later, and that's how they kind of defeat Fyodor, is if you had this book of all of our abilities, but it didn't tell you everything, right? There's some things left unsaid. So with that being said, though, I'm pretty excited to get into this episode. I hope y'all are too. But let's dive in, shall we? We are going to start episode 5 of season 3. I can't believe that next episode's going to be the halfway point. What is happening? I am glad the flashback was only, as much as I like the flashback, I'm glad it was only 3 episodes and not a whole third of the season. So we did get Fyodor in the last episode, but It's been a long time since we've seen our boys and our girls of the ADA and the Port Mafia, so I'm kind of ready to get back into that and see them again because it's been a while. So let's start this, shall we? We're going to start this episode here in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Man, so some revelations in this episode that I should have seen coming. Man, I bet yeah, so how did I not know that Gin was going to be Akutagawa's sister? The fact that he has a sister blows my mind. That's so crazy. But yeah, okay. This episode was very odd. It was very odd. I liked both parts of it. The first part of it was only like 8 minutes, like that very first segment. So I feel like, again, we're bridging. We've introduced Fyodor, and now we're gonna have these fun little bantery things, and then get back into the manga, back into the story. But oh my gosh! So I really thought in the first episode that something bad was gonna happen to the woman, the manager that works there at the coffee shop. I really thought it was her. And I kept wondering what in the world were in the jars. I thought they were teeth at first, like they pulled his teeth. But it was his nails. Ugh, why? Why? That's so random and creepy. But yeah, the poor coffee shop owner, the wise barista. And then I do appreciate in this show that they acknowledge that all of our protagonists are wore the hell out after the end of season 2. Because, in some shonen, like they have a giant battle or something, and then they're just right as rain, ready to go on to the next thing. No problems here. And in this, they're like, no, we're tired. We just fought the guild. We've never done anything that big before, so we're a little wore out. To the point where even the manager's like, are y'all hungover? Like, I love the idea of them all hanging out together and doing shenanigans, but how loyal and that shot of Atsushi in the newspaper is like the most photogenic photo. I'm like, who took that, Peter Parker? Who crafted that photo? Who was there on the scene with the cell phone? Like, look at this. I think that's hilarious. So interesting. I guess the shadowy figure in the doorway when they were all hanging out there. I love that despite everything, Kunikita gets more worked up and more gung-ho instead of the opposite. It's like instead of him getting wore out and exhausted, he just gets more amped up. I love it. I can't wait to see this in the manga. But there's a couple of fun things in this little side part of episode here. I like that the one person who can match Dazai in terms of wits, it's not Fyodor, it's not Mori, it's this coffee house manager. She's like, I hope you took out life insurance. Like, I feel like if she was the least bit suicidal, Dazai would try to get her to do a double suicide with him. I feel like that's the case. She's like the one woman that can handle him. And then he's like, like she's the only one that can take him. I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah, the big shadowy figure in the doorway, I thought for an instance it was Fitzgerald, because we just talked about Lucy being on the streets. And in the OP, there's Louisa and Lucy and Fitzgerald. So I thought that what they were setting up was that the shadowy figure was Fitzgerald. It was going to become like a Poe thing where he was like, hey guys. But he's probably wanted, so that's probably not going to happen. When you try to blow up Yokohama, you're probably wanted. They're not going to just let you off the hook. But I like Atsushi constantly being tied to Lucy. I think that the motif of them being orphans and them having similar upbringings is really cool. And I really liked earlier in season 2 when she like let him out and he like flew down into Yokohama. Like that was such a beautiful scene. And she's working at the coffee shop now. So she's kind of like getting fostered into the guild, into the ADA from the guild. Louisa obviously is still looking for Fitzgerald. But again, I think it would be really cool. We've had the Port Mafia and the agency team up against the guild. It'd be kind of cool if Fitzgerald and Louisa and Lucy teamed up with them to help take down Fyodor. Be kind of fun. But I don't know. Fitzgerald's ability is strong if he has money, but I don't know how that... See, I don't know. The figure in the window looks kind of like Fitzgerald, but then it doesn't. So it doesn't look like the guy from the warehouse that kidnapped or took the nail from the barista either. So interesting. They do hint at Fyodor that there being somebody in the works that took down Moby Dick and that he's roaming the city somewhere, which does not bode well. I'm really surprised, actually, we didn't see him at all this episode other than that one shot on top of the building. But then this show, they casually build him up and show how terrifying he is as an antagonist. And they're like, just forget about him for a while. He might show back up. And it's like, Also, connecting to the second plot, the second half of this episode, Mori and the president, Fukuzawa, they got something up their sleeve, right? They got something up their sleeve. Something weird. Because why would they give each agency the same instructions? Okay, and yeah, I now know that I've been thinking the guy, you guys have probably already commented at this point, you're like, it's not Ango. But the guy with the glasses, it's Katai, and I really thought it was Ango for the longest time. Wow, okay. Never mind. I was wrong, but it did kind of look like Ango, so I got all excited. But Katai using his ability, so it looks like Katai will actually be a part of this season, so that's interesting. I like the idea of this recluse. The ADA, it fosters in some weird stray dogs, right? Some very interesting characters. But here's the thing about all of our stray dogs. When they all go into the coffee shop, they all being extremely loyal. Looking for the barista. And I like how shocked Dazai looks. And then the poor barista, the poor dude. And they're asking what happened. And his fingers, yeah. Aww. I'm glad you're all safe. He's so sweet. And then, yeah, all of them have, like, the murder faces. They're all like, screw whoever did this to you. Dude, you are our loyal barista. We love you. And then, yeah. What they look up at? It's this show and it's weird, like, fisheye animation. And then I love that they have this organization, like this villain of the week coming in here being like, we're going to get the detective agency to talk to us and blah, blah, blah. And he goes into this big spiel about all the stuff that they have. And it's like, okay, keep talking. They're just going to burst right in. You know, the fact that it's nails, though. Ew. Gross. Yeah, ew. I don't like it. Ugh. Why? So, Zapalik. Weird. And then, yeah, I love they used Tanazaki's ability to just take it out. And then Kenji with the bank door was great. And then I love that Dazai's like, we've come here to take care of things. It's like the one time that Dazai and them, it's like back to the old Port Mafia days where we're taking out this criminal organization single-handedly. Very Port Mafia-like, you know? Except they're not just killing all of them, right? But yeah, it's so good. I love it. This is a good side episode. And then they all get to go back and hang out with the barista again. And Dazai getting that devilish gleam in his eye. It's like he gets to be a little sinister here. And because he knows that everybody else is on the same side as him. Getting to like satisfy that urge, you know. Yep. So then, yeah, we get our little symbol, our little thing of Fyodor there. And then Lucy's our new worker. So I just want the agency to adopt everybody. Adopt Fitzgerald, adopt Lucy, adopt Louisa. I don't think any of the other guild members stuck around. I think they all left. And then, of course, I love... Lucy clearly has a crush on Atsushi, but I view them more like friends. And Lucy's just, get out of here. I love it. And then I love Atsushi's like, why are you here? And she's like, because I feel like it. I love it. Slap the stick and addict. I'm guessing slap the stick maybe refers to like coffee, like after you stir it, and then coffee is addictive. So I also want to point out that Kunikita, he befriends a lot of hackers. He befriended that kid back in episodes 6 and 7 of season 1, and he's befriended Katai. So Kunikita has a lot of ties to people with hacking abilities and technology, which I think is really interesting. It's kind of cool, like Kunikita has friends with similar interests, which is intriguing. And so Katai's ability is really cool. He can take control of technology, But I thought they established that he has to be on his futon to do it. But then when he was running through the streets, he took control of the street lights. So maybe to an extent, he can do so much away from the futon, but to really have access to everything within sight, he needs to have the futon. Interesting. I need to go back and rewatch the scene to get more of an explanation of his ability. But yeah, we backtracked with everything with Akutagawa. And so the only lead they have to Fjordor is that chip. And I like that they established that we need to drag Fjordor out into the open before he makes a move. But then Kunikita, he's like, Katai, I'm coming in. Like, he just barges in. And yeah, his space is disgusting. Like, just the dishes. And I like that Kunikita starts cleaning everything. Like, he is truly a hoarder and a recluse. I love it. I absolutely love it. So Katai's an interesting character. Again, another stray dog that has tried to wander away from the agency. And he can't focus on anything because he's in love with this girl. That is, Akutagawa's sister. Gin is Akutagawa's sister. I'm so baffled, but it makes perfect sense. So yeah, Teyama Katai, I'm going to have to look him up. Teyama Katai, he can process information several dozen times faster than a normal human. Ability, futon. And he controls everything. So enough for him to take on military cyber warfare. He can't concentrate unless he feels most at home. Oh, and that's where the futon comes in. The only place he can use the ability is from inside that futon. But he didn't have the futon with him. Oh, he says that too was long ago. So maybe it's established his ability has developed. He can use it now without the futon. Maybe that's it. But right now he says he can't use his ability because he can't concentrate because he's in love. And there is that damn calico cat. It is sitting right there outside the door. And it says, don't make noise in the hall. It is right there. That stupid calico cat that's following them around. Don't spoil me, but that cat has been everywhere. I'm so curious. Interesting. Yeah, and then the cat looks, you're in love. To be fair to Katai, Gin is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love the white. It's such a stark contrast because Gin, when her hair's up and she has the mask on and like the ninja gear, she looks so like a hardcore ninja. But here, she's like in the heels and the beautiful flowy dress, which if you're in the Port Mafia and you're successful, then you have money. So I wouldn't have pegged. I should have pegged this a long time ago. But if you'd asked me who the most fashionable people in Bungo Stray Dogs were, I wouldn't have said Gin and Akutagawa. But it's Gin and Akutagawa. They're the most fashionistas of the entire Port Mafia. Possibly the agency too. I'm so amazed. They're freaking models. But yeah, I love that Kunikita and Akutagawa and Atsushi are like, you saw her from 500 meters away. You've not even met her. He's like, I only had strength to take a photo. Which, man, the zoom feature on his phone. And yeah, she's pretty. And she looks like Akutagawa now that you like her face structure and her eyes. Because Akutagawa has a very, like, feminine, dainty face. Yeah. I'm better at bantering with moles. Yoshiko, the name of this futon. Atsushi's like, why does this futon have a name? And Kunikita's like, well, he's kind of weird. But yeah, as soon as Kunikita laments and says this investigation's not going to go anywhere, then that's when Katai gets serious. I love it. He's like, I understand. I love that look he gives whenever he turns around. I love it because it shows that, like we established in the first part of this episode, which is probably the point of why we had the first part of this episode, was that these agency members, once you're an agency member, there is a fierce sense of loyalty, like you're all connected. There's a fierce sense of loyalty among you. And so even though Katai has like distanced himself from the agency, as soon as Kunikita says they need help, he instantly like knows what to do. And he instantly knows he has to give a love letter to the girl, to Gin, to tell her that to break things off so that he can have that closure. And then once he has that closure, even though it's going to hurt, he's going to cry about it for a few days. Once he has that closure, he can move on and help the agency with their task. So I love that loyalty, that sense that, yeah, we're going to do the thing and we're going to work together to get it done. It's like, cool. So I like that we instantly established that once you're an agency member, always an agency member. So that's awesome. I'm sorry though, like this episode was fine. I was like, okay, cool. We meet Katai. He's neat, interesting. He's in love with this girl. The first part of the episode, it was like the cliche villain of the week thing. That's cool. But the moment we get Tsundere, Yandere, however you want to describe it, Higuchi's crush on Akutagawa, once she comes in the picture in her black car, this episode elevated to like a 10 for me. I was like, this is amazing because it is straight up. I am a huge fan of the miscommunication hilarity. This reminded me totally of, if you've ever watched Free, there's a movie, Free Take Your Marks, and it's Free Iwatobi Swim Club. But in the movie Free Take Your Marks, there's a huge miscommunication in the movie with the character Reen and his sister. A very similar miscommunication to this. And that's all I could think about this entire episode. And I was like, oh my God, this is just like Free. And I've missed Free, so this was like a perfect callback to that. And I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. But Higuchi just in her blazer coat, driving along, being like, oh God, I'm bored, it's after work, what do I do? And she just slams on the brakes because she sees Akutagawa. Look at him in this like zip-up coat with his see-through black shades and his his Swatch watch. What is this? Why is he looking so fashionable? Oh my God, on his way home from work, she's like, stay calm. Hold it together, Higuchi. Oh my God, I love her. And I love the beautiful, like, picturesque thing in the pink glitter where she shows up. And she's like, good work today, senpai. Shall I take you home? I love her vision. And she's like, it's so casual. It'll work perfectly. And he might be like, want some tea? And let me come in. Her crush on him is absolutely hilarious. And then sure enough, Akutagawa is seen with his sister. Long time no see. Let's go home. And he was making a joke. Oh my God. Akutagawa was making a joke. He was like, long time no see. Akutagawa making a joke. And his sister just being like, oh God. They're so pretty. Yeah. And her like, yeah, she's beautiful, but most fashionable characters in Bungo Stray Dogs. It's Gin and Akutagawa. Oh my God. It's kind of amazing. And then Higuchi being like, my heart is broken because Akutagawa went home with another woman. I'm like, girl, you should have seen the writing on the wall. I mean, Akutagawa take a woman home? Unless it's his sister, that does not seem likely. I love that she's just on her bed too, just in mourning. And just says, that woman, who is she? I love it. I absolutely love it. It's the best thing ever. This episode it got so funny after this moment. And yeah, I love that she's sitting there like, he met up with a woman, they went home together. Like, there must be a reason. And then of course Mori's like, yeah, no, we're not going to just stalk Akutagawa with Port Mafia members and waste our time and resources. No. But he says that he has a plan and that for now they're not interacting with the agency. Suspicious. And the president, Fukuzawa, said the exact same thing to the agency. So, curiouser and curiouser. I'm thinking like Akutagawa and Gin get these very sweet casual civilian clothes so that the population don't recognize them. Why doesn't Atsushi and Kunikita get some sweet threads? Why don't we have this? Where's their pea coat? It's winter, right? Yeah, for the foreseeable future. The guild has already been dissolved. Interesting. Something's up. Something's up, and I don't know what it is. But Mori and the president, I ship them so hard, and they have plans. So I'm like, what have you two been up to? Have you been having secret meetings to talk about things? So yeah. And then I like that, of course, Gin wouldn't speak up because she's like, I don't want you to know it's me. And then, of course, Higuchi just doesn't understand it. And so I love the idea of Higuchi running around with Kunikita and Atsushi. You know, could Higuchi be the woman that is Kunikita's dream woman? Could she be? She's very dedicated to her job. She's very dedicated to her job. She's a hard worker. She's very polite. Could she meet all of Kunikita's qualifications? Could she? I don't know. Is my crack pairing now Higuchi and Kunikita? I don't know. I'm just like, girl, you and Akutagawa is not going to work. And so I like that Atsushi says that they're trying to find her to deliver the love letter. And then she's like, the were-tiger is surprisingly bold. And she even calls him were-tiger, like Akutagawa. Like, girl is surprisingly bold. And then the logic that she comes up with, this is freaking Samazuka Chad logic from Free. I absolutely love it, but it's so ridiculous. She's like, if the were-tiger gives a love letter, then Akutagawa senpai will break up with her because Akutagawa hates Atsushi. And then I like somehow or another profit with the little heart. I can't. This is amazing. It's the funniest damn thing. And she's like, nice. I'm rooting for you. Women like to be approached forcefully, but I think you should tidy up your bangs. I like that she's like, be bold, be aggressive, show your love, but also make sure your hair looks good. I like she tells him to tidy up his bangs, and it's like, Akutagawa has some major fringe, and you tell Atsushi to tidy up his bangs. But then yeah, the futon and everything, Katai, and then I like that, okay, so he did bring his futon, and that's the, when I think of futon, I think of a literal bed. I think of the actual bed structure. I didn't think of the blanket that goes over it. So, fun. Yeah, he brought it. You're even more hopeless than the were-tiger. This is amazing. Amazing. So I wonder, he stepped on that blanket then right before he controlled the stoplights, right? But I have no interest in making friends with criminals, which is hilarious because then he likes Gin. And then he can't look at her and yell, which is great. But then they see... Oh, and of course, she's the dry cleaning. She's like, those are Akutagawa's senpai's clothes. How dare you take his clothing to the dry cleaners? And she's just gonna straight up shoot her. I was like, Higuchi, you mad woman. I don't think she's Kunikita's type now that I think about it, but I'll maintain my crack pairing. I think they'd be happy together. They're both extreme type A personalities. I think they'd be happy together, sure. Okay, so yeah, he throws the futon, but he left it. But he still controlled the stoplights, so that's interesting. Maybe his ability just extends a little bit. Because he didn't use much. He didn't use much to stop the stoplight. So maybe he used like a fraction of an ability. So maybe he just had enough stored up that he could use that one time. I should have realized it was Gin the moment that she started jumping on semis. I was like, that should have hit me. But I was just like, I think I was more floored that Higuchi was literally going to shoot a woman because she's yandere. Let's establish she's yandere. Shooting a woman because you think she has a crush or is with your crush is kind of yandere behavior. Awesome. Good deal. But then, yeah, I like that she was right in the middle of catching her and Gin was in the middle of changing her clothes. Ah! And she's trying to put on the mask and put her hair up. And she's so cute. Why are you here? Amazing. Amazing. And then, yeah, we finally get all of it. Yeah, and I should have recognized from the silver eyes. It just... That's great. I love it. She's so pretty. She's so pretty. And it all makes sense now. So, when Dazai said he knew her since she was a little girl... So clearly, 4 or 5 years ago, when she was little or even before that, then Akutagawa would have been taken in and they took him in together as siblings. It all makes sense now. It all makes sense. And then, yeah, even Higuchi didn't know that she was his sister. His little sister. Yeah, and she's so pretty. crying. She's like, oh, thank God. Are you all right? Amazing. And then he gives the letter to her so that he can be free to do his job to help the Armed Detective Agency. Great. And I love that shot of Katai looking back on the city. So I'm curious to know why Katai left in the first place. Why he left the Armed Detective Agency in the first place. But then he looks back on the city. And I love that view. So it's like even when he was far away, he still has a connection back to the city and back to the agency. So that's really interesting. Huh. That's super cool. I love that. But yeah, the very ending where she says, as your superior, I order you. Try calling me Oni-san. And it all makes sense now. Gein's attire with the Ninja 7-7 and the tattered robes kind of looks like Rashomon. It kind of looks like Rashomon. And when Akutagawa transforms into like the full demon armor, he has the mask like Gein. It was all right in front of me. Man, that's great. I love it. I absolutely love it. Dang! Gein could be Sailor Moon. She would have fooled me with her disguise. You know? I really like this episode. I went into it being like, oh, this is all right. And then by the end of it, it's one of the funniest episodes of the whole series. I'm all for miscommunication shenanigans, and this was right up my alley. So good on you, Bungo Stray Dogs. I can't wait to see this in the manga. I really can't. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Not much advanced plot-wise, other than we learned about Gein being Akutagawa's sister. That's a pretty big plot point. But other than that, we didn't have much plot-wise happen. Just getting more set up about the guild members still being around, about Fyodor still being there. But I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. But I thought this was a great episode. This was really funny. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back next week with episode 6. We're at the halfway point. Episode 6 of season 3 of Bungo Stray Dogs. Bye.